Half of your $2 million estate is mine. Cassandra set it into a crystal flute loud enough to rattle the chandelier. Laughter swelled. Silver clinked. I held the red folder tighter. The notary seal on the corner pressed a crescent into my palm. The band kept playing that gentle jazz people book when they want to look generous. The room smelled of peonies and buttercream. Cameras hovered like dragonflies. It was her engagement party, not mine. Her ring flashed. My passions did not. I stood near the mantel where our grandmother's clock ticked steady, polite, unaware. The deed copy inside my folder felt heavier than paper has any right to feel. No one looked at me. They looked through me. It is a particular kind of cold, that invisibility, and it can live in a warm room just fine. Sweetheart, my mother called, lifting her glass toward Cassandra. Family is about sharing. My father nodded in the way men nod when they do not intend to interfere. The cousins took selfies with the cake topper. The caterer slid past, balancing oysters like little moons. Let me introduce myself before we keep marching. I am Evelyn, 31, numbers for a living, calm by practice, not by nature. I grew up learning how to take notes while other people spoke about my future. I learned how to fold those notes into straight lines and put them in a drawer. Tonight I kept them in a red folder with a brass clasp. Cassandra smiled at me across her guests, wide, bright, triumphant. Don't sulk, she said, voice syrupy. It's unbecoming. Then to her crowd, we're making the estate a true family home, no locked doors, no selfish boundaries. People nodded. People always nod when they think they smell inheritance. I set the folder on the marble and laid my keys on top, 3 brass, 1 black fob, the fob for the gate that sticks when it rains. My grandmother kept lists in this house, ledgers, recipes, phone numbers, written with careful loops. She would have laughed at tonight's theater, then she would have told the band to quiet down and served coffee with the cake. I am not my grandmother. I do not laugh easily, but I do listen. I listened when the florist whispered that the bill went to Evelyn naturally. I listened when my aunt said, if Cassandra hosts here regularly, the community will assume the place is hers. That's good optics. I listened when a banker cousin offered to walk me through friendly equity. I said very little. I put each sentence in that same internal drawer and slid it closed. You might be asking why I was in that room at all. Because sometimes you attend the play to remember the script, because I needed to see who clapped for the line about what is mine. Before I go on, tell me where you're watching from and hit subscribe. We need to talk about families and money. We need to talk about the moment a toast turns into a claim. I will explain the rest in a moment. This part matters. Here is the small, ordinary truth beneath the glitter grief had not finished with me. Our grandmother's funeral smelled like lilies and starch. Lawyers' offices smell like toner and coffee. Somewhere between those rooms, a will was read. Pages turned, signatures dried. Those facts are simple, the feelings are not. I do numbers. Numbers do not do me. Still, even numbers can bruise. Evelyn Cassandra cooed smile. People are filming. She touched my arm as if checking for a pulse. No need to be territorial. It's not a good look. A photographer angled his lens to include the portrait over the fireplace, our grandmother in pearls. Her eyes watchful, not soft. I thought of the way she used to say, peace is not a room. Peace is a boundary. Older folks said she was difficult. I thought she was clear. The band slid into something slower. Servers fanned out with tiny forks. My mother reached me first. Her perfume was the same one she wore to school recitals. Don't make a scene, darling, she whispered. Her smile was for the room, not for me. Cassandra is excited. Is she? I said. She wants to celebrate here, build memories, invite the community. Think of the good it will do for her new life. And mine, I said. Mother smoothed invisible lint from my sleeve. You'll meet someone soon. Houses feel too large alone. She walked away before I answered. There are some conversations families repeat until meaning leaks out of them. That was one of ours. On the terrace, the sky was the color of bruised lemons. The lake ate the last of the light. I took my folder outside. I set it on the wrought iron table with the wobbling leg and watched a spider rebuild its web in the corner of the railing. The wind lifted the edge of the deed copy. I pressed it flat with my palm. Inside voices rose and fell like surf. Laughter travels faster than understanding. It always has. That was when the first mini-scandal arrived, a ping on my phone. The family group chat newly renamed Estate Planning Yay. I opened it. A screenshot sat there like a small bomb. An email purporting to be mine, addressed to a broker, asking about listing the property quietly, quickly cash preferred. The timestamp said morning. The wording said I had no dignity. The sender line said my name. The signature line did not. The phone number beneath it was off by 2 digits. Cassandra reacted faster than any decent sister has a right to react. "Oh, Evelyn, what are you doing?" she posted with a sad face like a little embroidered tear. Relatives replied in waves. Surprise disappointment, a few righteous prayers. A cousin wrote, "We thought this was for family." Another, "Guess money changes people." No one called me. They just performed their grief in text. I looked at the email again. The broker's address was real. The body left artifacts odd, spacing, clumsy punctuation. Someone had done this in a hurry, someone who thinks words are clothing, not tools. I saved the screenshot to a new folder named Weather. People underestimate how stormproof a good archive can be. Inside, someone tapped a glass for speeches. Cassandra's fiancé thanked everyone. He spoke about roots and futures, about community, about legacy. He did not say my name. When he finished, Cassandra took the mic again. "We will host more often here," she promised. "Our door will be open. This is a home, not a museum." The guests applauded. People love an open door. They rarely ask who pays for the lock. I went back in. I set my red folder on the piano, red against black like a stoplight. A waiter offered me a canapé. I took it for the napkin. I wrote on the napkin, in tidy block letters, "Please do not place drinks on the piano." I left the napkin under a coaster where the water ring had already formed. There are large gestures, there are small ones. Tonight called for both. Cassandra drifted over carrying that crystal flute, wearing triumph like a new scarf. "Did you see the email?" she asked softly. "I'm concerned about optics." "Optics," I said. "People are worried you'll flip the house. They're worried about stability, weddings, holidays, children needing a yard." "Children," I said. She lifted her chin. "You have savings. You have a good job. You don't need all this space." "Our grandmother left me this space," I said. "Not a committee." Her smile grew prettier and meaner at the same time. "That is a skill some people teach themselves." "Be reasonable," she said. "You can keep a floor. We'll take the rest." "You cannot partition a heart," I said, and it surprised me. I am not sentimental when cornered, but I meant it. This house holds more than furniture. It holds boundaries, and boundaries kept our grandmother upright when people called her difficult. Cassandra lowered her voice. "If you won't share, the family will have no choice but to intervene." "Intervene," I repeated. I put the word in the drawer, typed and labeled. Noted. She squeezed my arm. "Don't be dramatic. Sign something simple. We'll all feel better." "I will tell you that part later," I said, and stepped away. The band leader raised his hands. The floor filled. The laughter swelled again. I picked up my folder, and a fresh stack of glossy place cards slid from beneath it, names, neat calligraphy, tiny hearts. I tucked one into the pocket of my dress like a receipt. If you are still with me, say where you're watching from, and yes, do subscribe. I promise you this. The problem with public claims is that they create public records, and public records love a projector. But that is for another night. For now, I will leave you with what my grandmother told me the last time we walked this hall together. She pointed at the door and said, "A home is a promise is a lock. I keep keys. I also keep copies." I thought silence would protect me. I thought if I let their words fall heavy and clumsy without response, maybe the storm would pass. But storms, when ignored, gather strength. After the engagement party, the estate turned into a stage. Every hallway echoed with Cassandra's laughter, as if she had rehearsed each note. Guests came and went as though the house were a hotel lobby. The marble floors collected their footsteps, and the portraits of our ancestors stared down at me as though waiting for me to surrender. One morning I found a new sign hanging on the front gate, the Reynolds Estate Family Retreat. I hadn't hung it, I hadn't agreed. Yet there it was nailed into the wood, letters painted in gold. My estate, my grandmother's gift, my burden. "Don't look so grim," Cassandra said, sliding her sunglasses down as she carried a tray of mimosas onto the porch. "This place was never meant for just one person. Think bigger, think family." Family, I repeated the word, tasting like rust. "You're selfish," my father said that evening at dinner. The table was full, but the food was flavorless to me. "Your sister is trying to build something lasting. You should be proud. My mother chimed in, folding her napkin with unnecessary precision. Do you know what people think when they hear you live here alone? They think you are hoarding. They think you are ungrateful. Ungrateful, a word like a gavel. They spoke it as though the roof over their heads had been mine to withhold, when in truth it was mine to keep. The deed, notarized and stamped, rested in the drawer of my study. I touched it nightly, as though it might vanish without proof. That week the whispers grew. Relatives texted, cousins called. Then the scandal arrived, an email forwarded a dozen times, subject line, Evelyn's secret sale. It was written as though from me, addressed to a real estate broker I had never met. Please list the property discreetly. Quick sale. Cash only. No need to involve family. The forged message had my name, a clumsy imitation of my signature, and a phone number only slightly altered. I knew who had written it. Cassandra never could spell discreet correctly. She spelled it discreet. The email bore that mistake like a fingerprint left on glass. Screenshots spread in the family chat. Aunt Lillian wrote, "After all we've done for her." My cousin Ben posted a broken heart emoji, as if grief could be performed in pixels. My mother responded with a sad face, my father with silence. Cassandra, of course, wrote, "This is disappointing, but maybe she'll explain herself." No one asked me directly. No one called to confirm. They preferred the theater of betrayal. And I, unwilling to play, saved the screenshots to a folder I named Storm. That night, Cassandra stood in the kitchen sipping wine from a glass etched with the letter R. She smiled when I walked in. "Optics matter, Evelyn. People need to trust you." "Optics," I said, opening the refrigerator. My grandmother's preserves lined the top shelf, ruby and amber. Sweetness locked in glass. "You should tell them the truth," Cassandra pressed. "What truth?" "That you're overwhelmed. That you want to sell. That family means compromise." "Compromise," I repeated. Interesting word. She leaned closer, lowering her voice to a whisper meant to sting. "You're nothing without us." I closed the refrigerator, my hand steady. I would not give her the flinch she wanted. Instead, I walked past her, past the laughter in the living room, past the sign on the gate. Outside, the night, air cut sharp against my skin. I breathed it in tasting steel. But what they didn't know was that storms once named and archived do not pass quietly. They wait, they gather, they strike. Tell me, have you ever been accused of betrayal you did not commit? Share your thoughts below. And subscribe. This story is far from finished. I am Evelyn, 31, the quiet one who does numbers and keeps copies. The estate is my grandmother's last sentence written in brick and deed. Cassandra kept turning that sentence into a stage direction. People applauded her. They passed me napkins as if I were a spill. The next weekend, she hosted a soft brunch, which is what people call a party when they want guests to bring food. My front hall filled with wicker baskets and expensive jams. The marble console by the mirror became a shrine to other people's appetites. A chalkboard appeared on the sideboard seating plan. Next to it, a stack of place cards tied with twine. I touched one. The paper had that thick, toothy feel, the kind that makes ink bloom. Cassandra had written her name in loops. Mine sat in small, tidy letters near the far end of the long table. Near the kitchen door, near the draft. "Don't be dramatic," she said, catching me looking. She wore linen and the kind of smile that says I won. "You prefer quiet. Remember?" At noon, the house swelled with voices. Champagne breathed in flutes. The band plucked at a guitar on the sun porch. My mother floated, adjusting napkins, correcting forks. "Family first," she told anyone who paused long enough to nod. I took my seat. The chair wobbled, one leg shorter than the others. Across the room, the head table glowed under a spill of peonies. Cassandra's ring flashed when she lifted her glass. "To legacy," she said. "To the home that holds us." Guests answered like a choir. "Legacy," someone echoed behind me, and a wise redistribution of space. The kitchen door swung against my shoulder each time a server passed. Clatter, steam, the metallic breath of the dishwasher. At my elbow, a stack of extra dessert forks waited like small threats. No one at my section of the table spoke to me. They spoke around me. It is a particular education being present but uncounted. You learn how people talk when they believe you cannot change a thing. During dessert, lemon tart thin crust, a dusting of sugar I could feel on my fingers, Cassandra's friend Mila clicked her phone and said, "Group photo by the terrace, head table only." I wiped my hands on the linen and stayed seated. The photographer lined them up under the oak. Cassandra in the center, my parents close as parentheses. Flash, laughter, another flash. My chair creaked. When the picture hit social media fast, faster than weather, the caption read, "The Reynolds future stewards of the estate." Comments stacked under it, hearts, congratulations, a sentence about keeping tradition intact. Someone tagged the local society page. Someone else wrote, "Where's Evelyn?" A reply came within minutes. "She prefers privacy." That last line felt like a hand over my mouth. But what they did not know was that privacy is a door I open and close myself. They mistook my stillness for surrender. They mistook my quiet for absence. I kept eating my lemon tart. I kept counting. Then came the slip. Phones buzzed along the table like insects under glass. My screen lit with a new message in a group I had not been invited to join Core Team Estate. It pinged because someone in their hurry added the wrong Evelyn, the way a finger can slip one key to the left and turn a name into a confession. The thread rolled up my screen like a blind. "Cassandra, we need the optics to say family trust, not her deed. Any templates, Mila. Got a doc. If she balks, we call it a safety issue. One person managing a property this size is a liability. Mother, keep it gentle. She hates scenes. Cassandra, Phase 1, regular public events here, so the community quotes, sees stewardship. Phase 2, agreement signing. Dad talked to her about taxes again. Father, she can't carry it alone. Emphasize responsibility." A minute later, another bubble appeared. A voice memo icon with Cassandra's face. I pressed play. Her whisper came thin, but sharp, recorded over the rustle of fabric. "She is weak when it is about belonging. Show her a table. She will ask to sit. Once the papers say family, we move her out floor by floor. She keeps an attic and some boxes, we get the rest. Smile when you say it." There are words a person remembers, like a bruise remembers the doorframe. She keeps an attic and some boxes. I saved the file, then screen recorded the whole thread. Names, timestamps, the little read receipts blinking like small confessions. I moved the files into my folder named Weather inside a subfolder called Barometer. You would be amazed how much peace lives in a good naming system. I set my fork down, steadied the wobbly leg with a folded napkin, and stood. Across the room, Cassandra caught my eye as if sensing a draft where there was none. She excused herself from a circle of admirers and intercepted me near the stair. "Don't be rude," she said, voice soft, eyes bright. "Guests notice." "I am going upstairs to breathe," I said. "Breathe outside," she replied. "The bedrooms are for family." I looked at the banister. Old wood oiled every winter. It had held generations steady. "I am family," I said. She smiled in that pretty, mean way. "You are contingency," she said. "Try to understand the difference." I did not touch her. I did not raise my voice. I went to my grandmother's study instead, the small room near the back hall with the green lamp and the oval rug that never lies flat. The desk still smelled faintly of citrus oil. On the bookshelf, the ledgers stood in their order year season event. I slid one free. The spine gave with a soft sigh. Inside, my grandmother's handwriting marched in neat columns, repairs, deliveries, deposits, every number exact. On the back page, in a hand, smaller and more private, she had written 3 lines. "A home is a given thing until it is not. Teach people how to treat your thresholds. Make copies." I put the ledger back and opened the top drawer of the desk. The deed copy rested where I had left it. Under it, the inventory list I had been building since the will reading, sash keys, gate fob, garden shed, combination, safe location, insurance contacts, vendor accounts. I added a line voice memo from Cassandra, group thread capture, see weather folder, and dated it. Paper has a way of making liars work harder. On my way out, the hallway mirror caught me in its long oval. I looked like a person who could be pushed to the far end of a table. I looked like someone who apologizes to doors. I pressed 2 fingertips to the glass the way I used to when I was a child, trying to see how far an image could bend. The glass stayed cool. Reflection does not tell the future, but it can sharpen the present. Back in the main room, the band had decided we were all a little younger than we are. They played a song with a beat that makes people point at the ceiling and forget the names of their doubts. Cassandra spun the skirt of her dress, lifting like a bell. She saw me by the piano and glided over. Feeling better. Her hand hovered near my elbow as if ready to guide me anywhere but the door I would have chosen. "Much," I said. "I like your group chat." For a second her smile wobbled the way my chair had. Then she blinked pretty and proud again. You must have misread something. Screenshots can be so misleading. True, I said, until you press play. Color rose under her makeup. She leaned close breath, sweet with champagne. If you want love, she whispered, stop making this so hard. If you want a house, I whispered back, build one. We held that silence between us, stretched like sugar pulled thin. Then she laughed too loudly and called for another toast. People turned their smiling faces like sunflowers. She raised her glass and spoke of community, of holidays to come, of children running under old trees. The applause swelled. She drank. The camera flashed. I watched the way the flash froze her, how a still image can tell a different truth than a moving one. Tell me this. Have you ever been seated at a table you bought and told to be grateful for the view? Share your story below. Subscribe if you know how thin some smiles are. Next time, I will tell you what projectors do to whispers. I was raised to believe that signatures carried weight. My grandmother signed her letters in full, looping her name like she was sealing a promise. Cassandra, on the other hand, used signatures like stage props. It began with papers on the dining table spread out like cards in a rigged game. Family agreement, she called it, smiling for the relatives who had gathered for Sunday supper. The smell of roast chicken filled the air. The clatter of forks masked the scrape of her pen. Just a formality, she said. We make the estate a shared trust so no one feels excluded. I recognized the stationery our family lawyer's letterhead, though altered. The notary stamp was missing the ink fuzzy. I touched the corner of the page the way one checks a coin for weight. Go on, Evelyn, my father urged. Sign. It will keep things simple. Simple, I echoed, though nothing felt simple. My mother folded her napkin as though rehearsing calm. Family first. Cassandra has a vision. Holiday retreats, weddings, reunions. This house will become a gathering place. And my place, I asked. You'll always have a room, she answered, but a home this size isn't meant for one person. Think of legacy. I stared at the empty line where my name should go. The ink bled faintly where Cassandra had already signed. Legacy, I repeated, though. It felt like theft in a prettier dress. When I refused the pen, my mother's hand slammed against the table, rattling glasses. Then you are no daughter of ours. The words hung heavier than any chandelier. Around us, forks froze halfway to mouths. Even the band in the next room stumbled to silence. Cassandra leaned back smug. You see, you're the only obstacle. Why can't you be reasonable? I folded the unsigned paper and slid it into my folder marked weather, where I kept every attempt to erase me. That night, Cassandra's voice spread farther than the dining room. On Instagram, she posted a glossy photo of herself on the front steps, captioned, "Soon to be lady of the estate. Dreams do come true." The comments were relentless. So proud of you. A house like that belongs with a real hostess. Family legacy secured. My name was absent, my existence erased by a caption and a curated smile. I read each word with the stillness of someone who has been preparing. Screenshots filled another subfolder, this one titled, Forecast. Public lies require public weather reports. But what they didn't know was that storms once recorded prefer an audience, and projectors do not blink. Tell me, have you ever been handed a pen and told your signature meant love? Comment below. Subscribe if you felt the weight of silence at your own table. When I was young, my grandmother told me that walls remember. Plaster carries echoes, she said, tapping the baseboard with her cane. If you listen, you'll hear the truth sooner or later. I used to laugh. Now I hear her voice every time this house breathes. The engagement party returned in grander costume. Chandeliers, blazing tables, lined with crystal servers, balancing trays of oysters and champagne. Cassandra announced it as a celebration of unity. I knew better. It was rehearsal for ownership. She floated through the room in silk, her fiancé at her side, our parents behind her like sentinels. Guests clapped as if applauding a queen. She lifted her glass. Tonight we honor not just love, but legacy. The estate is our family's heart. No mention of me, no mention of the deed. But I had brought something heavier than champagne. At the back of the room stood a projector screen rolled down. I had arranged for the band to pause after Cassandra's toast. When the last applause faded, I stepped forward. The red folder felt steady in my hands, the brass clasp cold against my skin. Before we dance, I said, my voice carrying sharper than I intended, I want to share something with you all, a small piece of honesty. Cassandra stiffened. Evelyn, this is not the time. It is, I said, and I switched on the projector. The first image appeared the group chat screenshots. Lines of text floated 10 feet high, names clear, spelling errors intact. She is weak when it is about belonging. Once the papers say family, we move her out floor by floor. A gasp rolled across the room. Someone dropped a glass. Then the voice memo played. Cassandra's whisper amplified, filling the chandeliered air. She keeps an attic and some boxes. We get the rest. Smile when you say it. The silence that followed was not polite. It was heavy, like stone thrown into water. Eyes turned toward Cassandra, then toward me. My mother's hand trembled against her pearls. My father stared at the floor. Cassandra lunged toward the projector, but I held the remote high. You wanted community, Cassandra. Communities deserve transparency. Phones lit up around the room. Guests recorded, uploaded, shared. Within minutes, hashtags bloomed like weeds, number estate scandal, number family greed. Her fiancé stepped back from her face pale. Is this true? He asked. Cassandra tried to laugh brittle and sharp. It's a misunderstanding, screenshots can be faked. But the voice memo still echoed. She keeps an attic and some boxes. The band did not play again. Guests whispered in corners, phones buzzing with notifications. I stood by the projector, not triumphant, not relieved, simply steady. Later, I would learn the video spread faster than fire, millions of views on TikTok, commentary dripping with outrage. But in that moment, it was enough to see Cassandra's smile falter, to watch her legacy crumble under its own spotlight. What they didn't know was that this was only the beginning. A projector reveals, but revenge requires more than revelation. Tell me, have you ever seen truth go viral? Comment below. Subscribe if you know how silence ends when the lights come on. The house no longer felt like a stage that evening. It felt like a courtroom. The guests became a jury, their faces lit by the glow of their phones, verdicts typed in real time. Cassandra's eyes darted across the room, searching for sympathy. None came. Her fiancé cleared his throat, voice shaking. You lied to me, Cassandra. You lied to everyone. He slipped the ring from her finger and set it on the dessert table between two untouched slices of cake. The band of gold caught the chandelier, light a spotlight on betrayal. Gasps, whispers, the soft click of cameras. Someone muttered, "This will be everywhere by morning." They were wrong, it was everywhere before midnight. I had prepared for this moment with the disciplined numbers, had taught me records, copies, timestamps. While Cassandra flailed, I was already sending emails from my phone. The lawyer's cease and desist letters, the notice revoking, all family access, the bank alerts freezing shared accounts. One tap, and the locks of this house turned in my favor. By dawn, Cassandra's credit cards attached to family funds were declined. The gardener called asking who would now authorize his invoices. I told him, me and only me. The locksmith arrived by noon, fitting new brass into every door. Keys jingled in my palm, cold and clean. Cassandra tried to return, dragging a suitcase across the gravel drive. The gate code had changed. The fob no longer worked. She pounded the iron bars with her fists, shouting my name. I opened the upstairs window, leaned out, and held up the red folder. Do you hear it now? I asked. She screamed, but the sound cracked. The neighbors watched from their porches. Phones recorded. A clip of her yelling, "This is mine," racked up 1 million views within hours, captioned, "Entitled sister loses family estate." That night, I made my own post. A photo of the deed on my desk, grandmother's ledger beside it. Caption, "Sometimes family means protecting your peace, not sharing your property. Boundaries are love in practice." It spread wider than Cassandra's lies ever had. Comments poured in, strangers cheering others, confessing their own family betrayals. The story became bigger than us. Cassandra was no longer a sister in silk. She was a headline, a cautionary tale. She called once, voice hoarse. "You ruined me." "No," I said. "You did," and I ended the call. The house exhaled that evening, windows open to the lake breeze. For the first time in months, I heard only silence, no staged laughter, no rehearsed toasts. Just my grandmother's clock ticking steady, like approval. But what they didn't know was that silence is not the end. It is the beginning of memory, and memory is its own kind of revenge. Tell me, would you have locked her out or let her back in? Comment below. Subscribe if you know the taste of freedom when a door finally closes. The storm did not end with Cassandra's humiliation. It bled into every corner of the family. My mother's phone filled with messages from church friends. We saw the video. Are you all right? My father stopped going to his club after whispers followed him from the coat room to the card table. Family pride had been their currency. Now it was counterfeit. Cassandra moved into a small apartment downtown, the kind rented by the month. She tried to stage photos, borrowed furniture, borrowed clothes, but the comments turned cruel. Where's the estate? Guess money can't buy character. Invitations to social events dried up. Her name became shorthand for entitlement. Meanwhile, bills piled. She had never learned how to balance numbers, only how to balance champagne. Creditors called. Her fiancé's lawyers demanded repayment for the wedding deposits. She answered with silence, then with tears. Neither stopped the letters. Our parents tried to defend her. She was misunderstood, my mother said in a shaky Facebook post. It gathered more anger than sympathy. You raised her, strangers wrote. You enabled her. My father deleted the post within a day, but screenshots live longer than shame. Inside the estate, I lived differently. I worked late in the study ledger open lamp, casting a green glow across the desk. I balanced accounts, paid vendors, sent polite but firm replies. Stability has its own kind of power. Quiet, unshakable. Neighbors stopped by with pies, casseroles, soft words. Good for you, Evelyn once said. Boundaries matter. Their support felt strange like applause after silence, but I accepted it. Cassandra tried once more, slipping a handwritten note through the gate. You win. Can I come home? The handwriting wavered, the ink smudged. I slid it into the weather folder filed under Aftermath. Because here is the truth. Some homes do not reopen once respect is gone. My grandmother's words echoed in the hallway as I locked the gates. Teach people how to treat your thresholds. And so I did. But what they didn't know was that collapse is not loud. It is quiet like a house settling after a storm, each board creaking in relief. Tell me, have you ever watched pride dissolve in silence? Comment below. Subscribe if you know how endings sound when families unravel. The estate stood calm in September, light its stone walls warmed by late Sunday. I walked the upstairs hall where portraits of ancestors hung their painted eyes steady. For months they had watched chaos spill through these rooms. Now they seemed to watch peace. I opened the balcony doors. The lake shimmered, leaves turning gold at the edges. I leaned on the iron railing, the same railing my grandmother once polished with vinegar and cloth, saying, "A home is a promise is a lock." Her words stayed with me. They had carried me through whispers, signatures, betrayals. They carried me still. Cassandra's voice no longer echoed here. Her laughter had been replaced by birdsong, her demands by the creak of branches in the wind. She lived elsewhere now, chasing rent payments, chasing relevance. My parents visited her sometimes, though less and less. When they called me, they spoke softly, their confidence dissolved. They did not ask for the estate again. They knew better. I kept busy. Work ledgers, small gatherings with friends who understood silence as respect, not weakness. The estate was no longer a stage, it was simply a home. Sometimes I still heard the echo of that night, the toast, the insult, the lie. But memory has its own way of softening. Even wounds become lessons. I learned that family names do not guarantee family actions. Blood binds, yes, but respect must be earned. On the mantel sat the red folder now worn at the corners. Inside the deed, the ledger notes, the screenshots, the voice memo transcripts, proof of what had been and proof of what I survived. I did not open it often, but I never misplaced it. One evening, neighbors joined me for coffee in the garden. They admired the roses, the steady lake, the sense of order. It feels different here, one said, as if the house finally belongs to itself again. I smiled. It does. That night alone by the fire, I whispered into the quiet, I am no longer invisible. The flames cracked as if answering. Blood may bind us, but respect is earned. And I had earned mine the hard way. If you think I made the right choice, comment right. If you have a better way, share your idea.